Hey everybody, in today's video, I'm going to show you this really cool beginner level n8n AI automation. And in this one, what we do is we're able to automatically generate our own music and also images associated with that music via this workflow that you could combine to create something like your own YouTube background, music channel. But I really like this automation, not because I'm trying to create a YouTube channel, really show you how to do that, but I think it's a great stepping stone into more complicated AI automations that you can create using n8n. And in this one, we're able to do a lot of different things, right? We take data from Google Sheets, we invoke LLMs, we even do HTTP requests, we're working with API keys, and then we take all this stuff, combine it together, and we eventually put it back into Google Sheets. So I think it's a really cool lesson. You can kind of get your feet wet with n8n stuff, and at the end, you do get to create some pretty cool music and images. So follow along with me. We're going to do this completely from scratch, and at the end, you'll kind of see what you can create. So before we get in there and start building, let's quickly go over how this entire automation actually works. So starting on the left-hand side, we have this Google Sheets module. And this is where we're pulling in our data, right? We have the index, we have the status of the project, and then we have a title and the prompt. And this prompt is what is going to be used both for the image and for the music itself. And the title is something that's going to be generated alongside it. Now, there's two ways you could do this, right? You could do this the manual way, where you go in, you already know what you want it to sound like, and you want to fill in the title. Or we can kind of automate this process and use something like ChatGPT to help us out. So if you're lazy like me, you're going to want to use ChatGPT. And so I have a prompt that you can use. It's inside the Skool, so just copy from there, that you can use to have it generate all of that sheet for you. Now, there's a few things you are going to want to edit. Like right here, it says this is a channel that's centered on space. It says it's lo-fi music, right? There's also stuff here like we have 15 rows and, there's a title that you can put in here. So feel free to edit this, right? We're just going to do a space theme and it's going to be lo-fi, but it could be whatever you want. And when you put that in there, you should get a response from ChatGPT that looks like this. And you'll notice, hey, it has that index, the status, it gives us a title, and it gives us a prompt, right? So we really don't have to do too much work besides just having a general idea of what we want the music to sound like. So once it does that, you're going to copy it. And you should have a sheet that's blank and looks like this. Again, the template for this particular sheet is in the Skool. So we're just going to copy all that in, and this is what it's going to look like. So now we have a filled out Google Sheet that has some data that our automation can pull from. Okay, now that we understand what's going on inside that Google Sheet and what sort of data is being pulled, you can now see that it's going to go down two paths, either the image generator path or the music generation path. Now up here in the image generator path, we first send it to the AI, a basic LLM chain. And what we're doing is we're having it create a prompt for a text to image generator. Because remember, we have a prompt already in the Google Sheets, but that's a prompt for music generation, right? Now we want to create an image, so the prompt has to be a little bit different. So essentially we feed that text to music prompt to it, but we tell it, hey, this is a text to music prompt. Can you change that to a text to image prompt based on that music prompt, right? Give me something that's going to be in the same ballpark. And it says, okay, sure. It sends that to PyAPI and Flux. So that's the program we're going to be using to create the image. We then wait for it to create the image. We eventually download that image and then we upload it to Google Drive. So that's what's happening in a nutshell up here in image generation. Then we have music generation, right? So we already have the prompts. We kind of just skip this step. So we immediately send our prompt also to PyAPI. It's using a program called Diff Rhythm. So we send it our prompts, we wait for it to generate the music, we download the song, and then we upload it to our Google Drive as well. And then eventually we update our Google Sheet saying, hey, this whole thing's complete. So that's how this all works in a nutshell. Now let's create our own workflow and build this out one step at a time. So I just wanted to pause here real quick and say, if you're looking for the template for this particular build, you can find it inside my Skool community. I have a link to that below, and you can find that lesson and others like it inside the classroom, which also have templates. So if you're looking for a place to start and you're brand new to this whole AI space, you're not technical, I suggest checking this out. Okay, so here I am in a new workflow, and the first thing we're gonna do is let's just get that trigger out of the way. And then we wanna look for Google Sheets. And we're going to do get rows and sheets because we want to get the information. And so what we want to do here is we need to connect our document. So you need to choose it from a list. In this case, I'm just going to be using the n8n music automation. And then it's just going to be sheet 1. Now we need to add a filter, right? Because we want the status to be to do. Remember, right? It can either be to do, processing, or complete. We don't want it to grab ones that are complete. We want it to grab it if it needs to be done. So that's what that looks like. And then we also want to return only the first matching row, right? I just want it to give us the first row. I don't want it to go through all of them all at once. Let's just do one song at a time. So once we do that, we can actually test this step and we can see, hey, this is the status, this is the title, and we got the prompt. So we know that one's working. So let's go through the music generation portion of this flow first. And for that, we're going to be using PyAPI, which means we need to go to PyAPI, create an account, and grab an API key. So go ahead and go to PyAPI.ai. You're going to go to Workspace, and then you're going to need to create an API key. Now, if this is your first time using PyAPI, you'll see up here on the right, these are your total funds. You should start with, I think, like $2, which will be enough for this automation. But if you come down here to billing, you can always top it off and add a few more dollars. Now, just above billing, we have API key. And this is where you're able to create a new key. You name it whatever you want, and then it's going to populate down here. Once you want to use your API key, and I'll show you when you need to, you're just going to come down here, hit the copy button, and you'll be good to go. And while we're here, we can kind of look at the two different models we're going to use, right? First one, like I said, is diff rhythm, and we can click on there. We can kind of get an overview of how it works. We can go into the API documentation if we'd like to, and you can even go in here in the playground, and this is where you could test out different prompts. You can even add lyrics, all sorts of stuff. So this is a cool place to kind of do some testing before you like hard code it into the automation itself. Up here in image models, we also have Flux. And again, similar thing, you have a playground where you can kind of mess with prompts to see what image it would create. And then you can look at different models, their pricing, the API documentation, etc. So now that we have our API key, let's go back into here and we're going to do an HTTP request because we need to make a request to PyAPI to run all this stuff for us. But what do I put for the URL? What do I put for the headers and the body, all that stuff? It can be kind of confusing. So let me show you how you can find that out. So back inside PyAPI, we can go to Run API, and this is where we have all this documentation, which I know can be frightening, right? But you can come down here, and usually they'll give you some sort of sample. And what we're looking for is this curl, this CURL. Now, I can copy this whole thing. I can go back to n8n, and you see up here where it says import curl, like that, paste it all in there, import it, and look at that. It just filled out a bunch of stuff for us already. And so if you're ever confused or want some sort of like template, always look for like the curl, import it, and it will pretty much give you everything you need. We just got to fill out a couple stuff ourselves now. So X API key, what do we put here? You guessed it, go put in your PyAPI key. Next, we have the body, right? The JSON body. You want to put this to expression, and we want to pull this up. So it has the model, right? Diff, rhythm, task type, audio base, lyrics. We don't have any in there. This is the prompt, right? Just now, it would just do a pop song, but we already have that prompt, remember? So we want to map it, and we'll see here we have our prompt on the left-hand side. We're going to pull that into style prompt. Do that. And you'll see over here on the right what that comes out to, and it's that lo-fi track inspired by drifting through a glowing nebula. Now, the next thing you want to do is up here on task type, we're going to change this from base to full. Now, why are we doing that? If you looked at the overview of diff rhythm on PyAPI, base gives us like a 1:20 song, and full will give us a full 4-minute and 30-second song. They both cost the same. It's like 2 cents. Okay, so that's pretty much it for requesting the song. So do test step. And you'll see here now the status is pending, right? It's creating the song for us, but everything else you can take a look at, make sure it all checks out. So we've requested the song. The next thing we need to do is actually get the song, right? So it's gonna be another HTTP request. Now, looking back at this one, you'll see the method was post. Post means we're essentially pushing information to another program, right? We're pushing our request to PyAPI, we're pushing that prompt in there because we want it to do something for us. Now to get the song back, the method is, you guessed it, get. And again, how do we fill this out? What do we put here? Well, let's go back into here on this diff rhythm API stuff. And you'll see here on the left, this generate audio, that's what we did first. See how it says post? Well, now we want to do get. So if we click on get task, It'll give us to a different page. And just like before, we found this curl. Let's copy it. Let's import it. Let's see what it gets us, right? Hey, similar stuff. XAPI key, again, put your API key in there. And then we don't even have to worry about setting any sort of body. But what we do need to worry about is this task. So we need to actually map something here. Now, what do we need to map? Well, I need you to put a slash, and then we need to find the task ID. So right up here, and we're going to put that in on the back if it wants to work with us. There we go. Now get rid of this space. So now it knows, hey, you're going to get, but I want the specific task, right? That specific song we asked for. So don't forget that step. It's critical. Make sure you don't have a space in there. So now we can test the step. And let's see if we got it. Well, now the status is complete, and we actually have an audio URL. So let's take a look at what it sounds like. Cool. So the next thing we need to do is actually download that file, right? We got the URL, but we want to automatically download it. And that's going to be another HTTP request. And this one's pretty easy though. All we're going to do for the URL is we're just going to find the audio URL, put it in there, and you're all set. Test the step, and we downloaded it. So quick recap of what's happened with these 3 straight HTTP request modules, right? Requested the song, got the song URL, downloaded the song. All that's left is we just want to upload the song back to our Google Drive. So we're going to search for Google Drive. We're going to go to upload file, and we're just going to call this the name. So we can actually go back to Google Sheets, right? And if we scroll down, we'll find the title. We'll call it title, and then .mp3. And then you can save that wherever you want in the drive. I actually have a diff rhythm folder. Test the step, and we should see some sort of output like this. You can go inside your Google Drive and confirm you actually got it as well. So boom, there we go. We now have an automation that will request songs to be created for us and automatically upload them into the Google Drive. Now let's go on to the second step, which is doing the images. So what we want is an LLM chain. So basic LLM chain. Pull this guy up here, and we can just connect it like this. Now, we want to add a model. And for that, we're just going to do OpenAI. Now, remember, if you ever have questions about how these modules work, or if you need to create a new credential and need help, just hit that Open Docs button and follow the steps. So for this, we're just going to do 4.1 nano. And then inside here, what do we want the prompt to be? Well, obviously, we have no chat trigger connected to it, so we need to do define below. And we want to take in that prompt and map it here. Then like we talked about before, we need a system prompt. And it's the same one I mentioned previously. And this is in the Skool for you to copy paste if you want. But hey, just create a prompt based on what I'm getting you for an image generator. And for that, we're all set. We can test the step, and you see what it gives us. Okay. Now it's going to be a pretty similar situation, right? What do you think is going to happen next? We're going to request for an image to be generated. We're going to do post request for the image generation. We're going to do a get request for the image URL, and then we're going to download the image URL. So what you could even do here, right? Don't ever be afraid to do this. We could just copy, you can pretty much just copy all these, right? I can copy all these, drag them up, paste them in. Now we just have to go through one by one and just change a couple of things, right? Because we know this will probably be the same, the API key will be the same, but this will be different. So let's go into PyAPI. Let's kind of do what we did before, right? What are we looking for? We're looking for image models. We're looking for Flux. I'm gonna go to run API. And let's find their curl, right? So we got text to image, there's post. Now where's your curl, right? Here it is. Here's the curl. And, hey, we can just do this whole copy paste thing again if we want. Come up to import, paste it in, all set, right? So now we just need our API key again. Put your API key in there. And then we just need to edit this JSON, right? So set it to expression. And what do we put for the prompt? Well, now you should start to kind of pick up the pace of this. We're taking that LLM chain text, put it into there, right? That's what we're looking for. So let's test it. And there we go. It's currently pending. Now, next step. What do we have here? Well, what's nice about this is, look, it already automatically updated the task ID for us, right? Similar thing. Make sure you have that task ID in there. Make sure this actually matches up, and it looks like it does. So that's nice for us. API keys in there, and yeah, you can keep that the same, and then give it like honestly 60 seconds, and then do test step, and that should have been enough time for the image to be created. Okay, now let's test the step. And look, it says it's completed, and let's find that image URL and see what it made us. All right, pretty cool image. So next, we just need to download it. And obviously, it won't be the audio URL this time. It's going to be that image URL, which is right here. Paste it in, test the step. Now we got our image. And then just like before, what are we going to do with that image? We're going to send it over to Google. So put it in data. What do you want the name to be? So we could go to Google Sheets and we could call it the same as the title, right? And just do like a JPEG, or you could call it like underscore picture, whatever you want to do. We'll just keep the same name and make it a JPEG. And I'm also going to put it in the same folder. There we go. We're all set. So cool. Just like that, we created an automation that every time you click this button, it's going to check the Google Sheets and create an image and create some music for you. Now, the last thing we need to do is create some sort of update system. That way, every time we run it, it doesn't do the same row over and over and over. We want to be able to set, this status eventually to complete. So how do we do that? So we're going to add down here another Google Sheet thing. Except this time we are going to append or update row and sheet. Which one are we going to do? Find your correct list, correct sheet. Now the column we want to match on is we're going to match on index. And so just come in here, you set that to index, put that here. Okay, if it's grayed out. And then status, you're going to put complete. So it's going to make sure it's on the right, row based on the index, and then it's going to change the status to complete. So let's test that step. And if we come back in here, we'll see it got moved to complete. Then from here, you can connect these, and that's it. It's all complete. The only thing I would add here is add some wait timers, right? We'll do for the music, you could do 20 seconds. And then for the image, give it, wait, give it like 90 seconds, right? We're just putting in these here, so when you run this automation for real, it gives it time to create the image and gives it time to create the music. We didn't need that while we were setting up because it took us time to do the modules, but in production, that's what you want it to look like. So there you go. Like I said, I think this is a pretty simple but useful automation, right? We got to play with LLMs. We got to play around with different like Sheets modules, pulling data from one side and eventually combining it all on the other. And you got some practice with HTTP requests, which always tend to be tricky. So I'm glad we got to do some of the curl stuff. So let me know how this worked for you. Also, if you're wondering how you got like the colored boxes in the back ever, all you have to do is do sticky note, add sticky note, and you can always, move these around, change colors. Yeah. So anyways, let me know how this worked for you. As always, leave something in the comments, and I'll see you around.